Hello mates, welcome to the West 6 Mixology podcast. I'm Scotty Clark, and our show today is about a warm, spiced holiday tradition that's been bringing comfort to cold hands for over 2,000 years. The Bubbly Mulled wine. Picture this. Somewhere in the frozen forests of ancient Germania, a Roman soldier stands watch, his breath crystallizing in the air, hands wrapped around a cup of wine that's been warmed over the fire and spiked with honey and spices that cost more than his armor. He's drinking something that, 2,000 years later, you'll smell wafting through Christmas markets from Cologne to Copenhagen. Something that survived the fall of Rome itself and kept evolving, kept warming hands and hearts through medieval banquets, Victorian parlors, and now, your kitchen. Mulled wine isn't just old, it's ancient. And here's the thing that gets me. This drink has been in continuous production longer than most languages have existed. The recipe's changed, sure. The Romans called it conditum paradoxum. Medieval physicians prescribed it as Hippocras. Germans renamed it Glühwein, the glow wine. But that fundamental idea, take wine, warm it, add spices that cost a fortune, create something that smells like comfort itself, that's been unbroken for 20 centuries. Today, we're diving into humanity's oldest surviving cocktail tradition, a drink that predates cocktails by about 1,800 years, and learning why sometimes the simplest preparations become immortal. So, let's go back to Rome, back when the empire stretched from Britannia to the Levant, and keeping warm in northern territories meant getting creative. Roman soldiers received wine rations, standard military issue. But wine in Germania or Gaul during winter wasn't exactly pleasant. Cold, acidic, often not the finest quality. Some brilliant quartermaster or camp cook figured out that heating wine with honey and spices made it not just drinkable, but medicinal. See, Romans believed in the 4 humours: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. And they thought warming wine with specific spices balanced these humours, particularly crucial in cold, damp climates that threw everything out of whack. Enter Marcus Gavius Apicius, a Roman gourmand whose cookbook, De Re Coquinaria, documented conditum paradoxum, paradoxical spiced wine. The recipe called for honey, pepper, bay leaves, saffron, and dates boiled with wine. Not quite the mulled wine we know, but close enough that if you made it today, you'd recognize the concept immediately. This wasn't peasant drinking. This was sophisticated Roman engineering applied to pleasure and health simultaneously. When Rome fell, the recipe didn't. Monasteries preserved it. Trade routes adapted it. By the Middle Ages, mulled wine had evolved into Hippocras, named after Hippocrates, though he had nothing to do with it. Medieval Europeans loved symbolic naming. Hippocras became the ultimate luxury beverage because it required spices: cinnamon, ginger, cloves, nutmeg, grains of paradise that cost staggering amounts. We're talking spices worth more than gold by weight, shipped from Indonesia, India, Ceylon, across routes controlled by Venetian merchants who charged accordingly. Serving Hippocras at the end of a medieval banquet announced wealth. It said, "I can afford to pour crushed gems into wine and hand it to you in a silver cup." Beyond status, Hippocras functioned as digestive aid, served with wafers after multi-course feasts that would floor modern diners. Medieval physicians genuinely prescribed spiced wine for specific ailments, creating custom blends like apothecaries. The line between medicine and pleasure blurred beautifully. Then something interesting happened during the Renaissance. As spices became slightly more accessible, still expensive but not quite bankrupting, mulled wine democratized. Regional variations emerged. Germans developed Glühwein, served at Christmas markets, that started appearing in the late Middle Ages. These Christkindlmarkts, especially in Nuremberg and Cologne, turned mulled wine from home preparation into public ritual. Something you bought from vendors in wooden stalls while snow fell and cathedral bells rang. More after our break.
My name is Tom Sachs. I'm an artist in New York City. For nearly 2 decades, I have been collaborating with Nike.
Nike running is for runners, Nike basketball is for basketball. Nike craft is for everyone else.
Glühwein became inseparable from German Christmas identity. Simultaneously, Scandinavians created glögg, spiking theirs with almonds and raisins, sometimes fortifying it with aquavit. The French made vin chaud, keeping it simpler, letting wine quality speak. Every culture that touched this drink adapted it to local tastes and available ingredients. But that core idea, warmth, spice, community, stayed constant. Fast forward to Victorian England, where Charles Dickens basically canonized mulled wine in the cultural imagination through A Christmas Carol. Remember Scrooge's redemption scene? He orders Smoking Bishop for Bob Cratchit, a specific mulled wine variation made with port and roasted oranges. Dickens's description made this drink legendary. Smoking Bishop became shorthand for Christmas generosity, for the transformation from cold miser to warm benefactor. The name itself came from the deep purple colour, resembling a bishop's robes. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, who imported German Christmas traditions to England, including Christmas trees and market culture, further cemented mulled wine as essential to proper holiday celebration. By the late 19th century, no respectable English winter gathering happened without mulled claret warming by the fire. The 20th century nearly killed it. Mid-century modernism viewed mulled wine as old-fashioned, something grandmothers made at church socials, not sophisticated enough for martini-drinking cosmopolitan types. It survived in Christmas markets and family traditions, but barely evolved. Then, the craft cocktail renaissance happened, and bartenders started asking interesting questions. What if we applied precision to this ancient preparation? What if we controlled temperature exactly, used premium wine, measured spices scientifically, treated mulled wine with the same respect we give Manhattans or Negronis? Suddenly, this 2,000-year-old drink became contemporary again, showing up on seasonal menus at serious cocktail bars with house-made spice blends and careful execution. Here's why mulled wine matters beyond nostalgia. It represents something rare, a drinking tradition that survived empires rising and falling, religions transforming, entire paradigm shifts in how humans understand the world. The Roman soldier and the modern bartender are making essentially the same thing, for essentially the same reasons. Warmth, complexity, community. The smell alone triggers something primal in us, some deep association between spice and safety, heat and home. That's powerful. That's why this drink refuses to die. And that's why we're going to make it properly. Let's talk ingredients, because unlike spirit-forward cocktails where base alcohol dominates, mulled wine succeeds or fails on the interaction of multiple components, creating unified experience. Start with the wine itself. You need a bottle of red wine, standard size, and here's the critical guidance. Use something decent but not expensive. This isn't the time for that special Barolo or aged Bordeaux. Heating wine transforms its character dramatically. Delicate nuances vanish. Complex terroir expressions disappear. What survives and matters is fruit-forward character, balanced acidity, and moderate tannins. Think about wines that taste good but don't require contemplation. Merlot works beautifully. Soft, fruity, approachable. Côte de Rhône brings nice spice notes that complement the added spices. Zinfandel's jammy fruit stands up well. Basic Spanish Rioja made from Tempranillo offers solid balance. Avoid heavily oaked wines, because oak becomes harsh when heated. Avoid tannic powerhouses like Cabernet Sauvignon. Those tannins intensify with heat, creating astringency. More after our break.
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
The wine provides the base, the body, the fruit character, the essential structure. But alone, heated wine tastes thin and overly acidic. You need sweetener to round it out and help integrate spices. Traditional recipes use honey, which adds floral complexity and connects us to those Roman origins when honey was the primary sweetener. Modern recipes often use sugar for cleaner sweetness or brown sugar for molasses notes. Start with about a quarter cup. Taste after heating, adjust from there. Different wines have different residual sugar levels. A dry wine needs more sweetening than something off-dry. The sweetener isn't just about taste. It changes mouthfeel, creates perceived warmth independent of temperature, helps spices become more palatable rather than harsh. Now the spices, which define this drink's identity. Cinnamon sticks are non-negotiable. Use whole sticks, not ground. Ground cinnamon creates cloudy, gritty texture. 2 or 3 sticks for a standard bottle. Cinnamon contributes that essential warming spice character, the smell that announces this is mulled wine, not just heated red wine. The compound cinnamaldehyde activates heat receptors in your mouth, creating warmth sensation beyond actual temperature. Fascinating chemistry. Cinnamon makes things feel warmer. Next, cloves. 6 to 10 whole cloves adds pungent complexity and mysterious depth. Cloves contain eugenol, the same compound that creates their slight numbing quality, historically used for toothaches. Too many cloves makes the drink medicinal. Too few, and it lacks dimension. The balance matters. Star anise contributes licorice notes and looks beautiful floating in the pot. 2 or 3 whole stars sufficient. Not every traditional recipe includes star anise, but modern versions embrace it for the aromatic complexity and visual drama. All right, thank you for joining us for the West 6 podcast. Drink responsibly, and if you had a good time, press follow and rate our show 5 stars. This is Scotty signing off. May your troubles be lighter than your cocktails.
Grep News. Tamez.